How's it going, monkey people? Been a long time since I posted one of these, huh? I did record a bunch back in the day because it was like over a year ago, but I never got around to putting them together into one of these little time-lapse videos here. And at this point, it's been so long that I'm just not going to bother. So yeah, it has been a year almost since the last panel I did for It's Plunger Monkey Dynamo time, which is shocking and saddening to me. It's shocking because I've always struggled with the concept of the passage of time, as I like to phrase it. I get lost in my head, lost in my daydreams, lost in my day-to-day and what I'm doing, and all of a sudden, months, a year, many years goes by. Constantly amazed that it's been so long since I've seen some of my friends, actually, because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. But if I stop and think about the last time I went to go see one friend or another, I'm like, wow, yeah, it's been a couple of years, and that's wrong. But it's also wrong that it took me a year to do another panel of my comic strip. But like I said, I just, I get caught up in other things, I get distracted, change of focus, and a short break turns into months, a year. So, anyway, this is panel number 277-ish. Actually, I think it's exactly 277, which is why I put that at the start of this video. I don't know why I was confused about that. Hey, it's late, I'm tired, I haven't been sleeping good while I'm recording this audio stuff. So anyway, yeah, talk about the drawing here. I'm just fresh off of spending a bunch of time doing some turnarounds of myself and of Plunger Monkey, just trying to refine the way I draw both of us for this comic strip and future projects. I have to say that I had a lot of fun doing the Plunger Monkey turnarounds, and I think the way I drew him in this particular panel, I'm very happy with, and I think it's because of taking the time to do those studies. Not so thrilled with the way I drew myself. That's something I've on and off struggled with. There are times where I draw my face and I think, wow, that looked pretty cool. That, looks like I accurately took myself and turned myself into a comic book character. And then there are other times that I look at what I drew and I'm like, that looks nothing like me, and that's garbage. And I realize a lot of that is just the bipolar nature of being an artist, all those up and downs of your skill improves and you can appreciate that improvement, but then your ability, your critical eye improves, and then you see all the flaws and the mistakes and the problems, and it's a head trip. But speaking of flaws and mistakes and problems, there's a lot of them in this particular panel, in my opinion. Notably, the way I drew myself. Very unhappy with the way I drew my hands. I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself because this was the first panel I've filmed myself drawing in, like I said, a year. So I didn't want to take too long doing it because I wasn't sure if I was going to run out of space on my phone. I wasn't sure if, because of the time of day it was, if I was going to get a call. I'd gotten a couple of calls already from dentists and whatnot, trying to reschedule appointments because of everything's been on hiatus and on hold because of COVID-19 and all that. And I didn't want to get a call in the middle of recording and have it interrupt the video and screw everything up. So I was kind of rushing a little bit, and I didn't take the time to really think about the way I drew my hands. I just kind of threw them in there. My anatomy is way off. I've got like T-Rex arms in this or something, and my waist is too small. I don't like the way it looks. And I'm seeing a lot of things that I could do future studies and exercises on to improve the way I draw. Usually been reasonably solid with generic human anatomy, because that's something I've always been interested in drawing since I was really young. The whole superhero comic book phase, which I don't know if I can really call it a phase because I still like superhero comic books. But just that, hypertrophic anatomy and understanding where all the muscles were and how they move and what they do. And I'm a bit of an exercise nerd too, so I've got an interest in anatomy from that perspective. So generally, generic, particularly male anatomy, musculature and stuff, is something that I've always, I don't know if I could say it's been a strong point of the way of what I draw, but it's something I'm much more comfortable with doing on the fly without a lot of photo reference or looking in a mirror or something. But looking at this panel and the way it turned out, realizing that I'm kind of glossing over a lot of shortcuts I take and errors I make, and that there's a lot of room for improvement and space for more study there. Anyway, the other thing that I had a realization about while I was working on this panel is that I've been searching for my style, and it's kind of something that just is supposed to naturally develop. But I personally have issues with trying to figure out how things are going to look before I start a big project. Like, I'm working on this comic strip, and it's started out as kind of like a fun little exercise thing, and now I'm taking it a little bit more seriously. And I've got my project Reverie that has been, waiting to be worked on for over a decade, and I'm kind of fiddling around with that inside Toby's brain thing. And all of that is just so I can try to develop my style so that when I start working on something, the beginning and the end visually look the same. That's something that I've always been hung up on, and it's not really realistic because I look at something like my hero, one of my heroes, Bill Watterson in Calvin and Hobbes, and the early Calvin and Hobbes strips, Calvin and Hobbes, and even the way he draws his parents and stuff, look different than, some of the later strips he did before he effectively retired. So I think about things like, this comic strip, it's Plunger Monkey Dynamo time, and what I'm going to do with it, and will I collect it into a comic of some sort at some point, or a webtoon or whatever. And then I start thinking about, well, then I might want to go back and fix all the problems in the panels that bugged me and the stylistic things, and it's one of those things that hinders me and prevents me from making progress on things. But anyway, I think we're coming to the end of this one very shortly here. Yep, there we go. So thanks for watching, and hopefully it won't be a year before I do another one. Oh, and be sure to do what the monkey says.